Right then, Year 11, welcome back to this second part. Now, the bell's gone, everybody's going home, so I can finish off this bit. The next question coming down, so we were just recapping about those benefits, and the second part of that question is the coffee machine is fitted with a 13 amp fuse plug as shown. I'm sure you all know that one. You can see the little fuse just there. Lists 4 key design specification criteria required for manufacturing of the 13 amp plug. Fuse plug. So we've got asked for 4 of these. List 4 key design specification criteria required for manufacturing of the plug. Now this is an interesting one because it's asking for specification criteria. So if you're doing that ratting, if you're talking about what the most important thing is, the specification criteria for manufacturing. So you could think about some of the key things that you would have in a spec if you were going to do it for this plug. What are the most important things? And that is can be quite a tricky one to do. So have a think about that one. It really does need to be, you've got to be careful how you word this. And it can be about materials, it can be about the use of it. For example, must be manufactured from an insulating polymer. Now you could put that one in. The plastic must be insulating. It must not conduct electricity. There's no good making this one out of metal because as soon as you put it in, it will blow the fuse and it could be an electrical risk to electrocuting. Must have room inside for a standard fuse, so it's got to have a standard fuse there, and this one's easily accessible there. Some of them have them in another place and you haven't got a window. I'm sure you've seen those. Must be easy to open and secure to rewire or replace the fuse, so it must be easy to open it up. Sometimes though you find that these machines come with a mouldy plug and you can't open it up, and they sometimes do that. You have to literally, if you have a problem with the plug, you'd have to change it for a new one. The 3 pins must adhere to BS 1363-1. 1 vertical, larger earth pin with 2 small horizontal pins. Now that's an English plug. Obviously if you go into Europe or America, they're slightly different, but that's what they're looking for. So that whole BS 1361, you could get away with putting the 3 pins, or the plug must conform to a British standard or BS. So if you know that one, that would be fine. I'm sure that would get you the mark. The size must be shaped to improve grip when removing the plug, so it's an ergonomic thing, so you can see the lip just here. And the flexible cord must be positioned at the bottom of the plug, so you can see there. That is one of the requirements of an English plug. You don't want it sticking out that way, or else it could cause problems. So any of those, and indeed many of the other ones, but you've got to avoid again putting it must be strong, it must be the right size. Things like it must have 3 pins, including an earth pin, is something that you could put onto that one. The plug casing has been made from urea formaldehyde, which we know is a thermoset plastic. Give 2 reasons why the material has been used. Well, we've already mentioned in the top here that it's an insulator, so it doesn't conduct electricity, and that's a really important one that you can put down. So anything about electricity in plastic, it's a good insulator. Urea formaldehyde allows for complicated parts to be injection molded, because urea formaldehyde can be injection molded, so it can be quite complex, quite thin and fiddly. That could go in there. 2 times 1 point as well. Has a high tensile strength, so if you know about urea formaldehyde, it's really strong. It doesn't break easily, which is why, looking in this room, in the STEM room, we've got our actual extension leads. They're made out of the same type of stuff. Your plugs at home made out of the same type of stuff. They're going to take up to a lot of battering. High surface hardness, again it's going to be really hard, and it also could be mass produced. So any of those will get you the answers. Now we're moving on to question number 2. Now this is one I quite like. Question number 2 is where you compare an old and a new. It's very familiar to me. A lot of the exam boards do this. OCR used to do it in my product design course. You've got a 1970s cleaner on the left hand side, and then you've got a modern high-tech vacuum cleaner on the right hand side. The world of engineering is greatly influenced by the developments in technology. One area that has been seeing many changes is the development of household products. Below are 2 vacuum cleaners. The one on the left is a basic vacuum cleaner from the 1970s. The one on the right is a modern high-tech vacuum cleaner. Now this obviously goes around the room, busies itself. It's basically a robot, so it's got sensors and everything in there. This is something, that's a light, by the way, for those people that don't know, that comes on. And that's the bag, handle there, you push it back and forth. So it's going to ask you some questions. Now this one's an interesting one. It's a 4-pointer. So straight away you've got something where they're expecting more. Describe 2 ways how modern technology has made the modern high-tech vacuum cleaner easier to use in the home. Now what they're looking for here, because it's 4 and it's asking for 2 ways, you know it's 2 points per question. This is why we rat things. And therefore I know that you need an answer that is justified or explained. So there are different things you could say. Modern technology has made the modern high-tech vacuum cleaner easier to use in the home. Now, that can be many different things, but it's any of these ones allows the user to do something else while the vacuum is working, because it's automated, yeah? So this is a robot. It'll do it all for you. You can set it to go off in the middle of the night if you wanted to, and you can be doing something else. You don't have to do vacuum cleaning anymore. You just time this, and it does it all for you. So that's great, you know. No more cables to trip over. You know, this has got a cable that comes in, and you've got to push it back and forth, and you could trip over it. This one, autonomous, goes off, goes back to its little house, charges up. Device can go under a sofa without the need to lift or move it. Yeah, this one, the light was so that you could see underneath things. But this one, because it's nice and flat, it'll go underneath the table really easily. So you could say, it's nice and low, got low profile, the modern cleaner can go underneath the table and find its way around and find all the nooks and crannies, and basically clean where you can't even see. It's also easier to store and doesn't take up as much space because these are a lot smaller. That bit is smaller than this. It's probably just that bottom section. All this, we've probably all seen really tall vacuum cleaners. They're beasts and they're heavy and they're hard to move around. So that's definitely an advantage. And user is also easier, not limited by the length of the cable. How many times have I tried hoovering somewhere and the cable runs out and I pull it out of the socket, whereas this just wanders along. Of course, it's not very good for going up and down stairs, but that's not the point. So they've asked for those 4 individual ones, and that's what would give you the points. Describe 2 disadvantages of the modern high-tech vacuum cleaner compared to the 1970s one. Well, straight away, I mean, I would say that's going to be more expensive. It's got a lot of electronics in it. That's just a motor, a bag, and it just does the job. So that will be more likely to be damaged, it's more likely to break down because of its complex nature. It's very simplistic, so it's a lot easier. It doesn't have that same problems. Can't vacuum upstairs. You know, this ain't going to go upstairs. You can't vacuum the stairs, so you're going to have something else to do that. This, you can vacuum the stairs. Well, kind of. It's not easy, but you can. Cannot vacuum into corners because of its shape. There's going to be a bit, if you imagine a circle, you can't get it to go into the corners, whereas this is rectangular, so it will go into the corners. It has little brushes at the front. Maximum storage capacity, not as big as the old bag. That's a big old bag there. You can keep on going. This thing here has only got a tiny little place, and you know, any sort of bigger lumps, it's going to block itself, and that's it. And you wouldn't know about that until you find it sort of stranded or turned upside down, as I found in my own one. Could take long time to charge in return for a short time of use. So it'll take quite a long time to charge, like your mobile phone, and then it runs out of charge, and that's it. And users responsible to charge it on a regular basis. So you've got to remember to do that, or else. Whereas this, you can just take it out of the cupboard and just use it. So I think we can possibly say with these, you need to make sure that you have both of them. With this, though, you need to make sure again that you've got 2 different things, and they've got both an answer with a justification and an explanation on the end. Describe 2 benefits to the manufacturer of the modern high-tech vacuum cleaner model. Interesting. So again, it's asking you, see this end side, we've had some quite easy questions, but the second one is really asking you to justify yourself. You've got to explain. So where I've gone on and on and on in class time about doing those PEE paragraphs, and you've done it in English, this is where you need to do it again. So they're looking for an answer with justification, an answer with justification. So parts can be manufactured quicker, injection molding, because it's mainly made out of plastic, whereas the early one has got metal and stuff like that, so it's more expensive to produce, and there's more of it as well. The product can be manufactured in a range of colours. So very similar to what we said about the coffee machine, using the same sort of arguments for this C part as well. The product can be manufactured in a range of colours that lead to more sales. The product can be assembled solely by robots, so it can be put together, and gives the company a modern look. So, you know, it's a cool device. You see one of these, they're going to go, look, we're a company of the future. We develop these things, gives them a cool image. You know, you think about Tesla. They've got a cool image because they are designing things for the future, even if their Cybertruck does look a little bit odd. And then we've got discuss why the modern high-tech vacuum cleaner has been designed to be environmentally friendly. Well, manufactured from durable materials, so it won't break easily, therefore extending its life. Customers like the idea that they are helping the environment, which could improve sales. Manufactured from fewer parts, so less to recycle, reuse. Parts can be reused to make the next model. Manufactured from recycled or recyclable parts, and lithium-ion batteries still have most of their charge after years of use. So it's a tricky one, that one is. I mean, again, it's looking for those things where, and also it probably uses less power. It doesn't mention that in there, but that uses a big motor. That's only a small motor. It takes a lot more time to do its job, but it doesn't matter because it's doing it on its own. Whereas this uses a lot more power, a lot more electricity, so it could be less environmentally beneficial. So that's those questions on there. In the next one, we'll go on to the next session, Beyond the Blank Page.